Hi, I'm the Central Water, here to read you the Red Pyramid. I couldn't make out. Probably don't let them in. Sadie closed the door and regarded me as if I were a dead mouse her cat had just dragged in. So, here you are again. Yep. Come on then, she sighed. Let's go on with it. That's the way she was. No, hi, how you been the last 6 months? So glad to see you, or anything. But that was okay with me. When you only see each other twice a year, it's like your distant cousin rather than siblings. We had absolutely nothing in common except our parents. We sat down the steps. I was thinking how she smelled like a combination of old people's house and bubblegum when she stopped so abruptly. I ran into her. "Who's that?" she asked. I almost forgotten about the dude in the trench coat. He and my dad were standing across the street next to the big tree, having what looked like a serious argument. Dad's back was turned, so I couldn't see his face, but he gestured with his hand like he does when he's agitated. The other guy scowled and shook his head. "Dunno," I said. "He was there when we pulled up." "He looks familiar." Sadie frowned like she was trying to remember. "Come on." "Dad wants us to wait in the cab," I said, even though I knew it was no use. Sadie was already on the move. Instead of going straight across the street, she dust up the sidewalk for half a block, ducking behind cars, then crossed to the opposite side and crouched under a low stone wall. She started sneaking toward our dad. I didn't have much choice but to follow her example, even though it made me feel kind of stupid. 6 years in England, I muttered, and shit is just James Bond. Sadie swatted me without looking back and kept creeping forward. A couple more steps and we were right behind the big head tree. I couldn't hear my dad on the other side saying, "Have to, Amos. You know it's the right thing." "No," said the other man, who must be Amos. His voice was deep and even very insistent. His accent was American. "If I don't stop you, Julius, they will. The per unk is shadowing you." Sadie turned to me and mouthed the word, "Per what?" I shook my head, just as mystified. "Let's get out of here," I whispered, because I figured we'd been spotted any minute and get in serious trouble. Sadie, of course, ignored me. "They don't know my plan," my father was saying. "By the time they figured it out—" "And the children?" Amos asked. The hair stood up on the back of my neck. "What about them?" "I made an arrangement to protect them," my dad said. "Because if I don't do this, we're all in danger. Now back off." "I can't, Julius." "Then it's a duel you want?" Dad's tone truly deadly serious. "You never could beat me, Amos." I haven't seen my dad get violent since the great spatula incident, and I wasn't anxious to see a repeat of that. But the two men seemed to be edging toward a fight. Before I could react, Sadie popped up and shouted, "Dad!" He looked surprised when she hugged him, but not nearly as surprised as the other guy, Amos. He backed up so quickly he tripped over his own trench coat. He'd taken off his glasses. I couldn't help thinking that Sadie was right. He did look familiar, like a very distant memory. "I must be going," he said. He straightened his fedora and lumbered down the road. Our dad watched him go. He kept one arm protectively around Sadie and one hand inside the work bag slung over his shoulder. Finally, when Amos disappeared around the corner, Dad relaxed. He took his hand out of the bag and smiled at Sadie. "Hello, sweetheart." Sadie pushed away from him and crossed her arm. "Oh, now it's sweetheart, is it? You're late. Visitation day's nearly over. And what was that about? Who's Amos, and what's the per unk?" Dad stiffened. He glanced at me like he was wondering how much we heard. "It's nothing," he said, trying to sound upbeat. "I have a wonderful evening planned. Who'd like a private tour of the British Museum?" Sadie slumped in the back of the taxi between Dad and me. "I can't believe it," she grumbled. "One evening together and you want to do research?" Dad tried for a smile. "Sweetheart, it will be fun. The character of the Egypt collection personally invited." "Right, big surprise." Sadie blew a strand of red streaked hair out of her face. "Christmas Eve, and we're going to see some moldy old relics from Egypt. Do you ever think about anything else?" Dad didn't get mad. He never gets mad at Sadie. He's just started out the window at darkening sky and rain. "Yes," he said quietly, "I do." Whenever Dad got quiet like that and started off into nowhere, I knew he was thinking about our mom. The last few months, it had been happening a lot. I walk into our hotel room and find him with his cell phone in his hand. Mom's picture standing up at him from the screen, her hair tucked under a headscarf, her blue eyes staringly bright against the desert backdrop. Or we'll be at some dig site. I see Dad staring at the horizon, and I know he was remembering how he met her, two young scientists in the Valley of Kings on a dig to discover a lost tomb. Dad was an Egyptologist. Mom was an anthropologist looking for ancient DNA. He told me the story 1,000 times. Our taxi snaked its way along the bridges of Thames, just past Waterloo Bridge. My dad tensed. "Driver," he said, "stop here a moment." The cabby pulled over on the Victoria Embankment. "What is it, Dad?" I asked. He got out of the cab like he hadn't heard me. When Sadie and I joined him on the sidewalk, he was staring up at the Cleopatra's Needle.